The Mustang's story began like so many others. A life of freedom, running wild across the open plains, the wind in its mane, the sun on its back. But that freedom was short-lived. As the human world encroached further and further into the wild, the Mustang's home was taken from it. The land was fenced off, the water sources dried up, and the food became scarce. The Mustang, along with its herd, was forced to wander further and further in search of sustenance. But there was none to be found. One by one the herd began to weaken. Some fell to predators, others simply collapsed from exhaustion. The Mustang, once strong and resilient, was now the last of its kind, standing alone in a desolate wasteland. Days turned into weeks, and the Mustang's strength continued to wane. It stumbled more often now, its legs trembling under its own weight. Each step was a struggle, each breath a labor. The Mustang knew it was dying, but something inside it refused to give up. It was as if a tiny spark of hope still burned within its chest, a faint reminder of the life it had once known. And then, just when it seemed like all was lost, something incredible happened. It was a sound, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, that caught the Mustang's attention. At first it thought it was just the wind, or perhaps its own imagination playing tricks on it. But then it heard it again, clearer this time. It was the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, approaching from behind. The Mustang's ears twitched, and it turned its head slightly, its eyes straining to see through the haze of dust. And then, emerging from the shadows, came a figure. It was a human, but unlike any the Mustang had ever encountered before. This human moved with a gentle, almost reverent grace, as if aware of the fragility of the creature before it. The human stopped a few feet away, crouching down to the Mustang's level. For a long moment, the two simply stared at each other, the Mustang's hollow eyes meeting the human's compassionate gaze. And then, slowly, the human reached into a bag and pulled out a handful of fresh, green hay. The Mustang's nostrils flared, and for the first time in weeks, it felt a flicker of something other than pain, hunger. But it was more than that. It was hope. The Mustang hesitated, its instincts warring with its desperation. But the human remained still, patient, offering the hay without any sudden movements. And then, with a trembling step forward, the Mustang lowered its head and began to eat. It was a small act, but it was enough to change everything. Over the next few days, the human returned, each time bringing more food, more water, and more kindness. The Mustang's strength began to return, slowly but surely. Its coat started to regain its luster, its eyes began to brighten, and its spirit, once broken, began to heal. It was as if the Mustang had been given a second chance at life, a chance to reclaim the freedom and dignity that had been stolen from it. But the human's kindness didn't stop there. As the Mustang grew stronger, the human began to introduce it to other horses, ones that had also been rescued from similar fates. At first, the Mustang was wary, its trust in others shattered by the cruelty it had endured. But over time, it began to form bonds with these new companions, finding solace in their shared experiences. Together they began to rebuild their lives not as wild Mustangs, but as survivors, as warriors who had faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger for it. And then, one day the human did something that the Mustang could never have expected. They opened a gate, leading to a vast, open field, a field that stretched as far as the eye could see, with lush green grass, fresh water, and no fences in sight. The Mustang hesitated, its heart pounding in its chest. It had been so long since it had known true freedom, so long since it had felt the earth beneath its hooves without the weight of despair. But then, with a deep breath, the Mustang took a step forward, and then another, until it was running, galloping across the field with a speed and grace it had thought it had lost forever. As the Mustang ran, it felt something it hadn't felt in a long time, joy. Pure, unbridled joy. It ran until its legs could carry it no further, and then it stopped, standing tall and proud, its head held high, its eyes shining with a newfound light. It was free. Truly free. And as it stood there, breathing in the fresh, clean air, it knew that it would never take that freedom for granted again. But the Mustang's story doesn't end there. Because this story isn't just about one horse, it's about all the horses, all the animals, all the creatures that have been thrown away like trash, left to suffer in silence. It's a story about resilience, about hope, and about the power of kindness to change lives. And it's a story that's still being written, every day by people like the human who saved the Mustang, and by people like you who have the power to make a difference. So what can you do? How can you help? It starts with awareness. Share this story, spread the word, and let others know about the plight of these incredible animals. And if you can, consider supporting organizations that work to rescue and rehabilitate horses like the Mustang. Every little bit helps, and together we can make a difference. And if you're not already, consider subscribing to this channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about new stories like this one, stories that inspire, that educate, and that remind us of the power of compassion. Because the truth is, there are countless more stories out there, stories of animals who have been thrown away like trash, but who, with a little help, can find their way back to life. And by subscribing, you'll be a part of those stories, a part of the change. So what do you say? Are you ready to be a part of something incredible? Are you ready to make a difference? Then hit that subscribe button and let's continue this journey together. Because every story matters, every life matters, and together we can create a world where no creature is ever thrown away like trash again. The Mustang stood at the edge of the field, its chest heaving as it caught its breath. The sun was setting now, casting a golden glow over the landscape, and the Mustang felt a sense of peace it hadn't known in years. But even as it stood there, basking in the warmth of the setting sun, it couldn't help but think of the others, the ones who hadn't been as lucky, the ones who were still out there, suffering in silence. The Mustang knew that its journey wasn't over, not yet. It had been given a second chance, and it was determined to make the most of it. Over the next few weeks, the Mustang continued to thrive. Its strength returned, its coat regained its shine, and its spirit grew stronger with each passing day. But it wasn't just the Mustang that was changing, it was the humans around it too. The human who had saved it, the one who had shown it kindness when it had needed it most, had become a constant presence in its life. And as the days went by, the Mustang began to trust this human more and more, until one day, it allowed the human to approach it without fear. It was a small step, but it was a significant one. For the first time since its rescue, the Mustang allowed the human to touch it, to run a gentle hand over its neck, to feel the warmth of its skin. And in that moment something shifted. The Mustang realized that not all humans were the same, that there were some who cared, who wanted to help, who saw it not as a piece of property, but as a living, breathing being with a soul. As the bond between the Mustang and the human grew stronger, the human began to introduce it to new experiences. They started with simple things like grooming and basic training, but soon the Mustang was learning to trust in ways it never thought possible. It learned to wear a halter, to walk on a lead, to stand still while the human checked its hooves. And with each new experience, the Mustang's confidence grew. But the human didn't stop there. They knew that the Mustang's journey wasn't just about physical healing, it was about emotional healing too. And so, they began to introduce the Mustang to other horses, ones that had been through similar experiences. At first, the Mustang was wary. It had been so long since it had been part of a herd, so long since it had trusted anyone other than itself. But slowly, cautiously, it began to form bonds with these new companions. There was a mare, a gentle soul with a kind eye, who seemed to understand the Mustang's pain. There was a young colt, full of energy and curiosity, who reminded the Mustang of its own youth. And then there was an older gelding, wise and patient, who seemed to take the Mustang under his wing. Together they formed a new herd, one built not on blood ties, but on shared experiences and mutual respect. As the days turned into weeks, the Mustang began to feel something it hadn't felt in a long time: belonging. It was no longer alone, no longer fighting for survival. It was part of something bigger, something that gave its life meaning. And as it stood there, surrounded by its new herd, the Mustang realized that it had found a new purpose: to live, to thrive, and to help others do the same. But the Mustang's journey wasn't just about its own healing. It was about something bigger, something that went beyond its own experiences. It was about raising awareness, about showing the world that these animals, these incredible creatures, deserved better. And so, the human who had saved the Mustang began to share its story with others. They posted pictures and videos online, telling the Mustang's tale of resilience and hope. And as the story spread, people began to take notice. Donations started pouring in, not just for the Mustang but for other horses in need. People from all over the world reached out, offering their support, their time, their resources. And as the Mustang's story continued to spread, it began to inspire others to take action. Rescues were organized, sanctuaries were built, and more horses were given a second chance at life. But the Mustang's story didn't end there. Because this story isn't just about one horse, it's about all the horses, all the animals, all the creatures that have been thrown away like trash, left to suffer in silence. It's a story about resilience, about hope, and about the power of kindness to change lives. And it's a story that's still being written every day by people like the human who saved the Mustang, and by people like you who have the power to make a difference. So what can you do? How can you help? It starts with awareness. Share this story, spread the word, and let others know about the plight of these incredible animals. And if you can, Consider supporting organizations that work to rescue and rehabilitate horses like the Mustang. Every little bit helps, and together we can make a difference. And if you're not already, consider subscribing to this channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about new stories like this one, stories that inspire, that educate, and that remind us of the power of compassion. Because the truth is, there are countless more stories out there, stories of animals who have been thrown away like trash, but who, with a little help, can find their way back to life. And by subscribing, you'll be a part of those stories, a part of the change. So what do you say? Are you ready to be a part of something incredible? Are you ready to make a difference? Then hit that subscribe button and let's continue this journey together. Because every story matters, every life matters, and together we can create a world where no creature is ever thrown away like trash again. As the Mustang stood there, surrounded by its new herd, it felt a sense of peace it hadn't known in years. It had been through hell and back, but it had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. And as it looked out over the field, at the humans who had saved it, at the horses who had become its family, it knew that its journey was far from over. There were still more horses out there, more animals in need, more stories waiting to be told. And the Mustang was determined to be a part of those stories, to use its second chance to make a difference. Because in the end, that's what this story is all about: hope. Hope that no matter how dark things may seem, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Hope that no matter how broken we may feel, we can always find a way to heal. And hope that no matter how alone we may be, we can always find a way to belong. So, as you go about your day, as you go about your life, remember the Mustang. Remember its story, its journey, its resilience. And remember that you, too, have the power to make a difference. You have the power to change lives, to bring hope, to create a better world. And it all starts with a single act of kindness. So what will you do? How will you make a difference? The choice is yours. But know this: every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change the world. And together we can create a world where no creature is ever thrown away like trash again. Thank you for watching, for listening, for caring. And remember, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Because together we can make a difference. Together we can change the world.